Welcome to the Practice Podcast, a show created by lawyers to help lawyers in life and business without all the complicated lawyer language. Let's welcome Bast Amron founders and your hosts, Jeff Bast and Brett Amron.
Are we on?
We are on and recording. Hi, Brett.
Hi, Jeff. Is this our first of 2025?
It's the first show we're recording.
We're recording in 2025.
Right. But we've released. Yeah, for sure. So how's your new year going so far?
So far, it's going well.
And how was
and yourself?
Great. Off to a great start. I still have at least one of my kids here. So
yes, mine are dispersing.
Yeah.
Yours
are too. Yeah.
I got one still at home, as you know, is in high school, but the other two have now left. And my oldest is like literally moving to, he took a job and
shout out to Danny.
He's out.
Congrats. Yeah. I love having a full house.
It was nice
having the kids and their friends, and it's just the best.
It was nice.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. We have a really exciting guest today. Irene Oria. Irene is a partner at Pierson Ferdinand with over 18 years of experience in complex commercial business litigation. She represents clients in federal and state courts as well as arbitration tribunals and focuses on financial services, insurance, securities litigation, including nationwide class actions and multi-district litigation. Before joining Pierson Ferdinand, Irene was a partner at Fisher Broyles and an assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of Florida, where she defended the United States in complex civil litigation. She also served as a judicial law clerk to U.S. District Judge Cecilia Altanaga, and she held key positions at prominent law firms, including Strzok and Levan, Hunton & Williams, and Morgan, Lewis & Bockius. Welcome, Irene.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Welcome.
And it's over 20 years of experience now because
over 20
I'm
years.
old.
Oh man, sorry to sell you short there. Yeah, 20 years. I'm gonna change it. So
I have to update that.
Yeah.
We like to say experience.
A lot of experience.
Not old, just experience.
I turned 50 this year, so I'm a little sensitive.
Welcome to the club.
Happy birthday.
Welcome to the club. Yeah. I know. It's better than the alternative, isn't it?
It is, definitely.
And I actually am enjoying
50s are great.
Mm-hmm. It's nice. Your kids get a little older. You watch them succeed and do things. Your career is at a certain point where, you get to enjoy the fruits of your labor a bit from all the years of struggle. And people come to you because you've been practicing for so long and you actually feel like, hey, I kind of know what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
You're no longer
selling
proving yourself. Yeah. Hopefully you're enjoying the fruits of your labor.
Right.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's how it's going to be. Hopefully this decade is going to be less stressful.
Well, yeah, we'll see about that.
Or stressful in other ways.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Different stressors, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right.
That's up to you. So you've been practicing longer than your firm has been in existence. Isn't that right?
Yeah. My existing firm is basically not even a toddler.
Yeah.
It's 1 year old.
1 year old. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, tell us about Pierson Ferdinand. It's a full service firm?
It's a full service firm. It changes every day because we're hiring every day. But I think it's 27, 28 jurisdictions in the U.S. And then we have a London office. So we're international. Yeah. I'm here in Miami. And I'm also barred in New York and New Jersey. That's where I'm originally from, New Jersey, and went to school in New York. So I'm also affiliated with those offices as well. But yeah, we have 28 virtual offices,
28 offices, and the firm only launched last year.
Yes, correct.
Was it, you say January 1st?
January 1st is when we launched, yes.
Of 2024.
Of 2024.
Wow. So 28 offices, and that
Thank
was
you.
just short in a year. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Did it grow during that time period, or had you get to 28 offices so
we
quickly?
were the founding partners of the firm. We're all partners at Fisher Broyles, another national distributed firm, distributed meaning people work remotely. Mm-hmm. So we had a very similar model to what we have here at this new firm. And again, we were all partners there. We decided to just do something similar, but a little different at this new firm. And so we phased out of the firm in different waves out of the old firm, Fisher Broyles. And I joined in at the end of March. The largest group joined January 1st. I was in the middle of trial in a case and couldn't join on January 1st. So I came on in March.
If you can, so a big group leaves a firm and then you're getting ready to leave a couple months later. Does the firm, did they know that you were going to be leaving? Was it just kind of every day they were waiting for another announcement, or what was the climate?
It was obviously a difficult time for everyone involved. And yes, they did reach out to everyone who hadn't already announced that they were leaving on January 1st. They did talk to all of us about our plans. So, but the existing firm was very good about, the relationships with their partners, their outgoing partners.
Right.
And so, yes, they knew that I would be leaving. They knew when I would be leaving. Right. They knew that I had a trial, and it was in everyone's, best interest to serve the client, finish out that trial, and stay on good terms.
So you mentioned that Fisher Broyles also remote, no physical office space. Is that right?
Yes.
Right.
A distributed firm. I didn't know
like
that. I didn't know that
I like
term.
that. Distributed. Yeah. Was that pre-COVID, or was that as a result of COVID?
No, that was pre-COVID. So that firm was launched by James Fisher and Kevin Broyles in 2002.
Wow.
With that model from day one, meaning there were no physical offices unless a partner or a group of partners wanted to have a physical office, in which case they had one.
Right.
Some people work in groups and like going into an office every day. And so it wasn't a firm office, but it was the partners going in together on a space.
Wow. So way ahead of their time.
Way ahead of their time.
Yeah.
Yes. So we were all ready to go when we had COVID and everybody was working from home.
Seems like no adjustment, because even staff is remote.
Even staff is remote. Yes.
So how do you find that, whether talking about your time at Fisher Broyles or now your time at the new firm, in terms of cohesiveness, working in teams, litigation is you have to rely upon and work together, right, with your team, whether it's other lawyers, paralegals, staff, whoever it is.
Right.
And so for me, I love to be like, we get into a room, in a conference room, and I'm, old school like that. And I like to talk to people face to face and work in teams. That doesn't mean we can't work remotely, but I like to come together. So how does that work for you guys? And obviously successful, but how do you sort of compensate for not being in the same room and work and having that?
So I'm not going to lie, it was difficult at first because I was used to the in-person every day. I actually feel like I'm much more productive working remotely because you don't have those personal interactions, which can be good. Someone walking into your office or you going into, because that person is there. So you're just getting up and going into that office. I find that I'm much more productive. I meet with my paralegals and my assistant every day, but just virtually. So that gets done. And then as far as interactions with the other partners, we have one annual partner meeting a year, and then we have 3 other networking, what we call networking retreats. So we meet at least 4 times a year. We also have a holiday party, which is not one of the 4. It's just an additional, which we've been having in New York City. We just had one in December. So we meet several times a year, aside from meeting for business purposes, meaning you're meeting a client together or you're having depositions in Chicago and you meet your partners while you're there.
Right.
So we definitely make it work. And I think just like everyone made it work after COVID or during COVID, I think people realized the model works because everybody got their jobs done. And I think, people realize that the emphasis on physical space, on, expensive offices and all that other overhead, that it just isn't necessary to the job at hand, which is, representing the clients.
And I think you just have to be more intentional about the interactions. Like you said, you go to Chicago for depositions, you're going to reach out to your partners that are in Chicago and get together.
Right.
What about the impact on the younger lawyers, the associates, if, in terms of their growth and in terms of their training? What have you seen, or what do you guys do in order to be more intentional about that, right? You can't just go down the hall, or they can't just go down the hall and sort of pop into a meeting.
Well, that was before I joined this, that was one of the things that concerned me because we don't have associates. So we literally are all partners. We are all at least 7 years out, mostly from big law. Some from government, some from in-house, but mostly big law, at least at some point in their career. So we all came from that big law model and just wanted to do things differently in this new model. And one of the things that concerned me about this new model is the fact that there are no associates. So what do you mean I can't, I don't have a second, third year, fourth year associate to help me with whatever it is. But again, our clients, and I was worried about how my clients would feel about that, but they actually love this model because they're getting, for the price of an associate, they are getting a partner. they're getting someone with at least 7 years of experience as a litigator to do the same work, obviously at a much higher level, and they're doing it efficiently.
So the rates are lower because of the
rates are definitely lower than big
overhead?
law. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. We pretty much set our own rates.
Yeah.
Based on market, based on experience, based on specialty, things like that.
Exactly. And just, it's client by client, case by case.
Right.
But we have that flexibility that we all found that we didn't really have in big law because we were pressured to bill at a certain rate in order to.
So I'm curious, like you, because just thinking it through, I like Brett. I'm very hands-on. I like to see people. And so you said you meet with your team every day. Is that a scheduled meeting, or are these just organic as things come up? Or do you I feel like if I had this, I would need a lot of structure around, interactions.
I speak to my assistant every day. It's not it's not like a 10 a.m. meeting or it's 2 p.m. It's at least once or twice a day, depending. And of course, she has my schedule, so she knows when I'm available. So we meet at least once or twice a day. And then as far as paralegals, that is as needed.
Right.
I do a lot of class action defense, which tends to be very document intensive. So I do have a lot of work for paralegals. And so like, for example, this week, I've met with 3 of the paralegals. I've had about 5 meetings with them this week. So, but it's as needed as it comes up.
And do you feel like the productivity is stable with, I feel like with lawyers, especially experienced lawyers, productivity, they can work remotely. Younger lawyers, some staff, and not everybody. I think there's some people can, but we've also seen that some people just are not as capable. And some people will tell you. It's like if people who say, I just much prefer to be in the office. Do you find that productivity is stable?
I find that productivity is stable. I think, you nailed it on the head. The younger lawyers, they need direction. And so they need that interaction. They need to learn on the job. This is not the firm that is conducive to that.
Right.
This is the firm that you come here with experience and you're able to serve your clients with the help of other similarly or even more experienced partners in a model where we are working. We're not really training our lawyers.
Right.
We're serving our clients because they've already been trained elsewhere. Like I said, for the most part, big law is where they were trained.
What are sort of the outlook for the firm? I mean, obviously coming out 1 year ago and already have, 27 jurisdictions. You've got, I think you said 100.
How many lawyers?
Now.
We have almost 300 at this point. Almost 300, Like 2 something.
My goodness. Yes. So the growth is incredible.
Yeah.
You started with 100 initially, and now you're up to 300 in 1 year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite impressive. Are there plans to just continue the growth? Is it organic or is it sort of very intentional? Hey, we're growing.
We are not growing to just grow. We are intentional about our growth. We do have plans to open other offices abroad, for example. But those plans are, it took us a while. It took Fisher Broyles many years. I mean, so it started in 2002. So it took them a long time to open a London office. Many of those people have come over now to us. So it took us less time because it was already there.
It was already there.
It was already there. But those things take time. So I imagine that will take some time. I think there are still jurisdictions, even though we have 27, 28, where we still want to be that we aren't currently, or where maybe we have a partner that resides there, but it's not an office because it's only one partner that's there. So we want to add 4 or 5 so that it's an office. It's a jurisdiction where we have a presence. So there are many of those places. And in that sense, it's very intentional. So for example, just picking a place, let's say Minneapolis. We don't have a Minneapolis office. We do have one partner that resides there, but is affiliated with he's barred in other jurisdictions, is affiliated with other offices. So
barred in Minneapolis as well, or not barred there, just lives there?
Just lives there.
Okay, in Minnesota, I should say.
In Minnesota, yes.
Right.
It's pretty big, but not that big.
No. Right.
Yeah. Actually, I think he may actually be barred in Minnesota. I think he is barred in Minnesota. But he's the only one that we have that's physically there and barred in Minnesota. So we'd like to add, that's an example of somewhere where we'd like we're looking to grow intentionally because we do have some clients that we'd like to serve there.
Maybe in the summer you have a better opportunity than the winter in Minnesota. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, of course.
Don't want to visit them right now,
no,
for example.
No, that's right. Everyone wants to come down here now in January, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So how have you, over the years, with all of the experience, right? You obviously U.S. Attorney's Office, you clerked for a district court judge, big law, now working at this firm, which is mostly experienced lawyers and totally... What was the word? Was it dispersed?
Distributed.
Thank you. I knew it was a D. Distributed. How have you seen sort of the impact on litigation and being a litigator with the advent of technology and Zoom hearings and all, and trials and things like that? Have you seen this sort of impact, and how have you adjusted? I've seen it. I feel it, obviously, but I'm curious as to your take on it as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely felt it and seen it. I mean, I'm somebody who clerked at a time when we didn't have CMECF even. So I had stacks of papers for on every motion and on a shelf for every case. I grew up in a totally different time. But
to interrupt you for 1 second, how many in this room actually went to a clerk's office to file, whether it's state or federal court?
Yeah.
Right here.
Sure.
All the time. As a young lawyer, you'd run over and file stuff before the deadline. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
So I like how you raised your hand.
Yeah, well, listen.
It was a different time, but this is a firm that because we're remote and there's so many things that we need to worry about since we are remote. We are very technology driven. That's one of the things that we felt like we wanted to do a little better in terms, and that is evolving. I mean, every firm, not just us or Fisher Broyles or every firm, your firm, every firm has to evolve with the technology. And so we are very, very much focused on that due to the nature of our firm and our model. Litigation, I think the big change for me as a class action defense lawyer, the depositions being remote, I still want to look these plaintiffs in the eye. And so I set my depositions of plaintiffs in class action cases in person. Yeah. Because I want them to tell me why they think they have a class, what their claims are, what their damages are. I want them to look me in the face and not be shuffling papers on a screen.
Right.
Yeah.
It's definitely different.
It's different.
In person.
Wow. Yeah.
I prefer also in person too for those kinds of witnesses.
Reasons. Yes.
Third-party witnesses sometimes.
Records custodians.
Yeah, of course. Zoom is fine or whatever platform. But for me, I agree. In person is a little more impactful.
Yeah.
It's also too easy to manipulate testimony virtually. To have someone coaching, guiding, signaling.
Correct. And you also develop a rapport, even if it's an adverse witness.
Yeah, you're right.
Like you're going to develop a rapport in person.
You're talking to someone. Yeah.
They're going to feel more comfortable with you. And as a defense firm, like, yes, please feel comfortable with me and tell me all kinds of things that you probably shouldn't be telling me.
Yeah. So you went to practice. So out of law school, you went to practice at a firm and for some time and then went back to clerk. Is that right?
Yeah. So I started my practice in New Jersey. Like I said, I'm originally from New Jersey, went to school in New York. So I started my practice in New Jersey, New York, at Lowenstein Sandler, which is a big regional firm there.
Yeah, we know them well. Yeah. Great firm.
Yeah, great firm. So then I'm Cuban American. So this is Mecca, the promised land. The rest of our family was here. So the idea was always to move here. I didn't do it right out of law school just because, I was over there. I took the New York and the New Jersey bar. The idea was always to take the Florida bar and eventually make it down here. So, but I didn't want to get too obviously comfortable with my practice up there because then I wouldn't make the move. So a year and a half I practiced up there, took the bar, applied for jobs. I got an offer from Morgan Lewis and a few other firms and took the offer from Morgan Lewis and started here in 2001. I worked at Morgan Lewis for 2 years. And I was doing a lot of securities litigation, which I liked. It was fine. But I wanted to do more different types of commercial litigation. And at that time, Hunton and Williams was just getting off the ground. Right. I knew somebody who was there who had been with me at Morgan Lewis. And so I applied and I started working Hunton for Wally Martinez, who was at the time not the managing partner of the firm, but he became the managing partner of the firm. And while I was there, one of the partners at the firm, the managing partner at the time, Marty Steinberg, got a call from Judge Altanaga about, do you have a good associate that you can spare? I'm looking for a couple of first law clerks. She hadn't been confirmed yet, but she was about to be confirmed. Right. And so he talked to me about, I had told him I always wanted a clerk, but couldn't afford it right out of law school. So it makes a difference. A few years of practice make a difference in the salary. So at that point, I had made a little bit of money at Hunton and Lowenstein. And so I interviewed with her. We hit it off. And I decided to take that clerkship. I was her very first law clerk. So.
Oh, that's great.
That was a great experience. Yeah. And I mean, among other things, she's the first Cuban-American female federal judge. So, stop there.
Yeah, right.
Well, to be part of that, I mean, that's amazing.
Exactly. And now she's the chief. I mean, Marty always said, she's going to be a star on the federal bench. And that guy was always right. Isn't that
he sure was.
It was a little frustrating.
he was always right. He was always right.
He was always right.
That's a great, probably still is.
Yeah.
Was that a challenging shift for you? Were you concerned at all about, you're 3 or 4 years into your private practice and now you're going to go clerk? Is that not the traditional trajectory?
No, I mean, the only thing I was concerned about was the salary because obviously I was taking a pay cut.
Right.
But just having met with her, having just learned about her and knowing that, I was going to be able to learn a lot from her. And it was a great way for somebody that didn't go to school here to make those connections to this community.
Right.
So it was honestly, I mean, I've had a lot of great jobs. I've been very lucky, knock on wood. But working for her was the best job I've ever had, still to this day. Just learned so much from her. And it being the first is obviously scary because, she came in, she's like, okay, this is going to be like the blind leading the blind because I just got here too. But there's nothing blind about her. She is,
super sharp.
Yeah, she has eyes behind her back and just amazing, super sharp, brilliant. And so, it was just a great work experience. And she's been a mentor to me my entire career since then. So. And
you went from the clerkship to the USAs?
Back to Hunton and Williams. At that point, I was working for Marty because Wally had left to work in Richmond. So I was working for Marty, and I was working for about 1.5 years, 2 years. I mean, the guy is a legend. Learned another one of my mentors I learned so much from. But I felt like he's very hands-on. You remember Marty?
Of course.
So I felt like I could do more stuff myself. I felt like I needed to branch out. And so a friend of mine was at the U.S. Attorney's Office. I submitted an application and was hired. And so I worked in the civil division for 3 years. The U.S. Attorney's Office, I tried more cases in those 3 years than I think I've tried ever.
Oh, I'm sure.
Certainly in that time period of 3 years, because the government doesn't, the government takes things to trial. So that's what we did.
And then how was the transition back to private practice? Because I'm always interested in transitions like this in practice, but yours was so unique because you did them at different stages.
I mean, Hunton was it was a great group of lawyers. Marty was a great boss, which is why I ended up going back again. Mm-hmm. They loved me, I loved them. But I had the same problem that I had when I left to go to the U.S. Attorney's Office, which is I still was feeling like I wasn't doing enough, like I didn't have enough autonomy. So I had worked with someone from Strzok on a case, and he was impressed by me and called me about having lunch one day. And he said, I'd really like you to consider coming over to our office. We're a small office in Miami, but we're growing. And, it's a New York-based firm. And we have a lot of banking and insurance clients, which you would do a lot of work for already. So I think it makes sense. And so that's how I made it from Hunton to Strzok. And at Strzok, I was there for 10 years before I joined Fisher Broyles. And then obviously before I joined Pierson Ferdinand.
Wow.
So now that you're saving all of this time with not commuting and working remotely, what is it that we'll find Irene doing in her off time?
In my off time?
Yeah. There is no off time.
There is off time. When it's just Irene time or family time or something, I don't know. I mean, what do you like to do outside of the practice that helps you de-stress and enjoy life?
Well, I'm doing a lot more, self-care, like exercise, for example, than I used to. I just didn't have the time. I was in traffic for over 2 hours a day, which was sometimes, I remember when I was doing it, I thought, oh, well, it's nice because I'm in the car. I can make calls that I can't do while I'm in the office and things like that. And it is me time. It's just me in the car. So that's nice. I could stop and get a coffee or whatever, but it wasn't really me time.
Right.
Because you're driving and
you're in traffic.
And you're in traffic and it's not fun. Yeah. And at that time I was taking US1, which, oh my God. Need I say more? So now I focus more on that. My kids are a little older. I have a senior in high school and I have one that just started college.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. So it requires, they still need me, but it's not the same as when they were toddlers or middle school. So I can definitely focus more on me and then on the things that, on the things I want to focus on. Like my parents required a lot of time as well. You go into that phase of life where you're taking care of them.
Sandwich generation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you're taking care of your kids, but you're also taking care of your parents. So there's that.
Yep, it's good. People need you.
Yeah.
It's important to be needed. I need you, Brett.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Brett's a sandwich generation, but he's taking care of me and his kids.
Yeah, Jeff is way older.
Thanks.
I wish I could read as much as I would like to for pleasure, but
Are you a fiction or nonfiction?
I like both, but I'm more of fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, again, I wish I had more time.
Yeah.
I take the book on vacation all the time, or the books, or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes I get it done, and sometimes, sometimes you just rather have a conversation with whoever, your family members that are on the trip with you, or
of course,
or whatever. But the other thing I love to do is travel. I mean, who doesn't love travel? But it's hard to do in our profession because
with planning, with planning, you can make it happen.
You can, and I'm much better at making it happen now than I was 20 years ago.
Oh, of course.
Obviously. So now I have people that just, if the house is on fire, call me. Otherwise, put out a little tiny fire. I trust you.
I trust you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. Good stuff. Good.
Congratulations on the new firm.
Yeah. Thank you.
That sounds amazing, and look forward to hoping the opportunity to work with or even against.
Yeah.
We don't do class action work, but it would be great to
litigation.
Yeah, you don't look like class action plaintiffs lawyers.
What? What do they look like?
Yeah. We didn't get into that.
Because we have smiles on our faces? Right. What's the end?
Hey, a good friend of mine used to do plaintiffs class action. Now actually does some defense.
Right.
Anyway. There are some good ones. There are some definitely.
I'm sure.
And I actually prefer to be against the good ones.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Because at least it's gonna be done right.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
It's the ones that don't know what they're doing that is
fair enough. But that goes across the board in any practice.
That's true.
Yeah, fair enough.
That is true.
All right. I'm going to bring it to a close. Let's land the plane. This is a great episode. If you enjoyed it as much as I did, please leave us a 5-star review, follow the show, share the show, subscribe, and we will see you next time.
Thank you, Irene.
Thank you so much for being here.
Nelson, thanks as always.
Thank you.
Thank you. Coolest
Jeff,
guy in the room.
Coolest guy in the room. Nelson, always. Jeff,
second,
your pleasure. Thank you.
All right, talk to you later.
Bye.
For more information on this show and other resources, visit fastamron.com and connect with us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram @FastAmron.